I wanted to make a small model of the teepee that we just showed you in the other videos so I can explain a little bit more about how it got put together. So I cut this piece of fabric to the general pattern of what you would use for your teepee covering. This is obviously going to be the top part that goes around the sticks. These two sides are going to be your smoke flaps. And then this area where it has a little cutout on both sides is going to be where you use lacing pins. It's going to overlap. This half circle on either side is going to be your door opening. And then you're going to have more lacing pins for the remainder of the fabric, and the wind's picked up. When Gumby cut the pieces of plastic for our teepee, he used this stick right here, which is not movable right now because of the clove hitch I've got. But imagine if you had the right size stick, that you could use it kind of like a tracer to determine how big you need to cut your fabric. And the directions I'll show you in just a minute are going to tell you where to tie the door pole, which is what this one is, onto the north and south poles for your main teepee structure. So again, the door pole, as it's positioned on the north and south poles for your teepee, are going to help you outline how big to make your teepee covering. And remember, if it's a little too big, you can always trim it, but if it's too small, it's going to be really difficult to fix. Okay, so we put this together using a clove hitch around all three of these poles. And it's going to look asymmetrical because it is. This is the door pole, which is going to be facing towards the east where we are in North Carolina. That's
which one is the door pole?
This big one right here. And then this is north and this is south. The reason why is the prevailing wind comes from the west. So the west side of the teepee, if it gets a force of wind, this door pole is going to really support it, along with the other poles that I'm going to show you.
Such a brilliant design.
It really is, and I gotta give praise and respect to the peoples who came up with this idea. All around the world, there's different cultures that used a similar design, but this is just so elegant and beautiful.
Actually,
this is the Sioux method.
Our Caucasian ancestors had something that was basically similar. What did they call it?
I can't remember because you asked.
Yeah.
So in the directions, it tells you to place the supporting poles in a particular order. And it's going to refer to the crotches of your sticks. So this is one crotch, and this is another crotch in the front. Because remember, this is going to be where your door's at. And then this is the back crotch. So we'll start at the front, and we're going to place approximately the first pole, the second pole, the third pole. And you'll see it starts to take shape, although, you know, I didn't really cut these to size.
So you're putting 3 poles in that space?
Mm-hmm.
Did it matter which side you started on?
It does, actually. I'll show you the directions, but this is the first 3 poles to the right of the door.
Yeah, which is from the east going towards the west.
Yes. And then the next 3 poles are going to be on the other side of the door pole. So 4, 5, 6. Again, you know.
Starting from the east going towards the west.
I'm using stuff from our our wood pile. And then the final poles are going to be in the back on the west side. So we've got pole number 7 and pole number 8. And the very last pole is called your lift pole. Now, if you had a heavy piece of really good canvas, you could potentially make something where there's like a pocket that this lift pole can really pick up the heavy piece of canvas and support it. But since we had plastic, Gumby, I think you kind of just went up on a ladder and somehow like got it to stay on that lift pole.
Yeah, I fortunately had scavenged an old broken down ladder that I could climb up on and wrestle it up there.
And then, now again, this is looking pretty ridiculous, but you're going to take the rest of your rope.
And you're just walking this rope around if it was a real life size teepee.
You might have to like if you're on the ground, you might have to kind of like
yeah,
whip
yeah,
it.
that was important. I kept having to whip it up to try to get it all in line. Otherwise, you have a spiral going down the teepee, which is not what you want.
And as you saw in our last video, the excess rope just kind of hangs down in the teepee.
And the way she just tucked it in, of course, you would not be able to do that with a full-size teepee. That she's
Right.
just doing that for the model. You would just, in real life, just leave it hanging down.
All right, Gumby, you might want to come on this side just so you can see. So remember, this isn't going to be this size on your teepee, so you're going to have to figure out how you're going to affix it to that lift pole. But basically, once you have your covering, this was a kind of like a semicircle, a half circle, and it's long. I intentionally cut it too big, but it's going to start to come together, and it's super cute. So here's your door. Here's the area that's going to overlap, where you'll put some lacing pins as well as underneath the door. And these are your smoke flaps, which you could then have, as Gumby showed you, the two poles to close them or open them. So now that you've waited this long, and Gumby, did you use anything, like how did you affix our plastic to the poles? Did you wrap the rope around the plastic at the top?
I did not, because you can see how the rope is inside the covering, so that would have been difficult, and I'm not sure it would have worked anyway. It was just kind of like when I wrestled it up there, I used the pins to kind of secure it tight. I don't think I really did anything else to get it up there because of the shape of it. It hugs it. It's not just going to slide down because of that shape.
Yeah.
It's tighter at the top.
Yeah, and like you just said, also you used maybe some lacing pins at the back.
Yeah, the lacing pins at the front, which would be above the door and below it. That kept it really tight. It's like putting on a jacket, and then you zip it up and it's tight on your body.
Yeah. So again, this is just really thrown together just to give you an idea, but I just think it's so cool because we got this information, and Gumby, if you want to come sit next to me. I got this information from a business called Nomadic Teepee Makers in Bend, Oregon. Their website's really easy. It's teepee.com. And on that website, they have a picture of how to set up the poles, just like what I did. It even gives you how far away each pole should be. We didn't really focus on the measurements that much.
I tried to use them as a guide, but I was, kind of improvising.
All right, so I'll let you kind of peruse that. You can always pause the video. And this is just my old copy. So have you gotten all that whole page all the way to the bottom?
I believe so, yeah.
All right, so sorry it was messy. I rewrote this last night. And on the other side here, Gumby, this is what I was telling you about. This is what I was trying to show you with the piece of fabric I used. So you see how these become the smoke flaps. These are where the lacing pins are above the door, and then the additional lacing pins that really are just sharpened sticks, like pointy sticks pointed on each side, right? And then you just pushed it through whatever your covering is, and hopefully you can do that with your covering. So yeah, all of these different sizes of teepee. We have a 12-foot teepee, basically the diameter inside. So you got all that?
Yep.
All right, so I tried to help you out there in case you couldn't find it or they took down that particular PDF on the website.
And there are many videos you can find that have these basic directions of how to set up a teepee, but I at least could not find an improvised one like we have done.
Yeah.
Which is why we're throwing our experience into the mix, because you can find the basic things that Teresa got on that paper pretty easily.
Yeah.
But it's the creative aspect of using what you have instead of what you might otherwise have to buy that really makes this one unique.
Yeah, there are, again, plenty of videos to show you how to set up the teepee poles. If you go to that teepee.com site, they have really nice, very detailed videos. You can buy one of their teepees for a couple $1,000, or you can try to make one like we did for $0 and a number of days of sweating and working hard.
What kind of fool do you think I am? Only, one person could fit in that. That's a teepee made for ants!
Ants!